Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at the first new Landorus card we've had in 5 years. I saw that we were having a new Landorus card, and I thought that's a little bit weird. Don't remember having seen a Landorus for a little while, and there's a very bloomin' good reason I've not seen a new Landorus for a while. We haven't had a new Landorus for a while. The last Landorus we actually had was Landorus EX, which came out in Furious Fists, which was released in the English-speaking world and European language-speaking world, in the Western world, in August 2014. And given that this is going to be coming out in May 2019, okay, I'll grant you, it is 3 months shy of 5 years, but come on, it's basically 5 years. And I'm a man that likes me some Landorus. Landorus EX was a feature of many of my decks when it was legal. The Landorus Plasma promo, which was really hard to get in the US, weirdly not anywhere near as difficult to get in the UK, was a card that I played around with a lot. I like me some Landorus. Question is, I even played the other Landorus at a tournament. It did not go terribly well, but I played this Landorus in an actual tournament, and it was a 3-hour trip each way. I did a 6-hour round trip to play this in a tournament. But anyway, the new Landorus, ladies and gentlemen. How's the new Landorus looking? Well, if we start off with the basics here, it's got 120 HP, which is not good because one of the best reasons to play a fighting Pokemon is to counter Zoroark, and Zoroark will one-hit KO it, so brilliant, cheers for that. Weakness to grass, fine, because the only things you're really worried about are stuff like Delmise and Golisopod, which will one-hit KO you anyway because of your frankly uninspiring HP. The retreat cost of 1 is quite nice because of the whole escape board thing, as well as just generally being a little bit low. And being a fighting Pokemon rocks. You are hitting weakness on Zoroark. You're also hitting weakness on Pikachu and Zekrom. You've got Brooklet Hill to search you out, and you are a basic. And you've got Diancie Prism Star to do an extra 20 damage. And don't forget I told you about Fighting Dojo the other day. Lets your Pokemon with basic fighting energy attached do 10 more to the active. But if you're behind on prizes, 40 more to the active. That is an impressive amount of damage. So, Landorus. The first attack for 1 fighting energy, according to the lovely David Hochmann over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Cool. Now, it is only 30 damage, and 30 damage isn't very much. And it is weirdly parallel to Landorus EX, which did 30 to the active, 30 to the bench. And look, I know that if you're doing damage to the bench, then Diancie Prism Star becomes essentially irrelevant. And Choice Band becomes irrelevant. And Fighting Dojo becomes irrelevant. And one of the best things about fighting Pokemon, this ability to do extra damage, to really build up the amount of damage you're doing, just goes away. Which is very sad. And 30 to the bench, I mean, the worst thing about this is that we do have a bunch of bench Pokemon. Well, they're likely to be on the bench. They ain't going to be in the active unless they can help it. That do have 30 HP. Like, for instance, Magikarp and Feebas. And can you tell me what those Pokemon have in common? Sorry, that's the inner teacher coming out in me there. They have the Submerge ability. So they don't take damage on your bench. And we've got Mew coming in this set as well, which will prevent damage done to the bench. And we've still got Sky Pillar, which does see a little bit of play at least in Lost March decks. Don't know if people are getting bored of Lost March yet. I think some people might be. But if they're not... So... as much as I like doing 30 to the bench, and you could say, yeah, but you know, combo it with Shrine of Punishment, really get some damage going on around here, I'm just not loving it like I could be, if I'm honest with you here. Sorry about that. So what about the second attack? Is the second attack any good? Well, 1 fighting, 1 colorless energy, Power Cyclone. 60 damage, move 1 energy from this Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon. Cool. And anyone that was playing when all of these bad boys were legal before should immediately be thinking of Tornadus. Because Tornadus, for free colorless energy, did 80 damage, which was admittedly a little bit better, and moved a basic energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench. Now, firstly, this does a bit less damage, and secondly, I've talked to David about things like this before, and he's explained to me the difference between basic energy and energy on a card, and this really does seem to be energy, which would explain why it does a little bit less. Although actually, I should also mention here, you're hitting an awesome weakness. And what's really great about this is that you don't actually worry about the energy. Because here's the thing, right? I've already told you that 120 HP isn't good. And generally speaking, when you get hit, then all of a sudden, you're going to be going down fairly quickly. And going down fairly quickly is a very, very bad thing. And partly it's because you give up a prize, but partly it's because you lose the energy. And this is not the easiest energy cost we've ever seen. If this was 60 for a basic, just 1 fighting energy, and you moved it to the bench, I would adore this Pokemon. It would be a genuinely kind of probably forced wussy card. It's amazing. But anyway, don't just let me get there. I will get there, ladies and gentlemen. So the fact that you get to move energy to your bench Pokemon is great, because it means that you don't lose it if you get KO'd. It means if the bench Pokemon gets KO'd, you still keep one on the active Landorus. By spreading your resources around, you're good. And here's the other great thing about this. The first Landorus is an awkward one to get going because of the 2 energy. But after that, Landorus attacks, moves an energy to the bench Landorus. And now both your Landorus have 1 energy on. So next turn, you attach a second energy to whichever Landorus happens to be in the active, and then that moves an energy to your benched Pokemon, which hopefully is another Landorus, and then all of your Landorus end up with 1 energy on, so they all are essentially single energy attackers at that point. As soon as you attack with the first Landorus, you don't need to worry about the energy here. You can move the energy around rather nicely and you are golden and life is good. But that first one is awkward. If you're behind on prizes, you can use either counter gain or counter energy. Counter gain will bring it down to a single energy cost. Counter energy will just pay the cost for you. And while we're here, if you're behind on prizes, counter catcher. But what makes me nervous about this is the fact that counter gain can be taken away with something like a field blower, or you can just not be behind on prizes anymore, even or winning, and then you don't have that energy on the active, so now it's an awkward attack cost. Counter energy, firstly, can be removed by something like an enhanced hammer, and secondly, you then don't have any energy on the active. And what I love about Landorus is attack with the first, move energy to the second, and then always have an energy on any Landorus that comes into the active. And that's what I think you lose here. It does seem like you can move special energy, and then expanded, that would include strong energy, but I actually think it's pretty much a moot point. Plus, if you want to use Fighting Dojo, you've got to have basic fighting on. So if we have a quick look at the amount of damage you're doing here, I'm kind of loving it. 60 damage is alright, but with a Diancie Prism Star and a Choice Band, now you're up to 110. Now Landorus is going down. And with a couple turns of Shrine of Punishment or just a Fighting Dojo, and seriously, all you need is a Fighting Dojo, even if you're not behind on prizes. 60 base, 30 for the Choice Band is 90, 20 for Diancie is 110, plus 10 for Fighting Dojo is 120. That's a one-hit KO on a Pikachu and Zekrom. So I like the amount of damage you're doing here. And the thing is, even against something that isn't weak, with Fighting Dojo, if you're behind on prizes, you're doing 100 damage. 120 with Diancie Prism Star. And that's before you bring in Choice Band and Shrine of Punishment for GX Pokemon. So Landorus exists in this weird space where there's things I like, but they're all mitigated. First attack, single energy damage to the bench, especially if you can Guzma something in the active and keep them there for a couple turns, is great. Especially if you can then combine it with Shrine of Punishment. But you're only doing 30 to the bench, that's not very much. Second attack, I love that you're moving the energy, and I love that you're doing a pretty good amount of damage. But the fact of the matter is here that it's 2 energy. And fine, when you've got the first attack off, you're going to be okay. But until you get the first attack off, you're pretty vulnerable. And we just end up in these awkward situations where you're close. You're almost there, but you don't get there. So I'm going to be giving Landorus between 2 and 3 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. I don't think it's a bad card. But when I look at this, I don't see me putting this into any decks. And it's a basic Pokemon, right? So it's easy to put into decks. And if I don't envisage myself playing this in decks, I don't think you're going to either. Though I would love to be wrong. Was it worth the 5-year wait for this card? Probably not, unfortunately. But whether you think it was or you think it wasn't, I would love to hear from you. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. But please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays for some more Wassie action. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.